Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 43 of a 53-part series of tutorials in which we are going to learn about system implementation procedures in System Analysis and Design course. My name is MemGM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. This is subtopic 3 or part 3 of the topic perform system implementation. In this presentation, therefore, our focus is on the system implementation procedures. System implementation procedures are structured activities that are undertaken in order to ensure that the system is correctly installed, configured, and operational. These procedures describe the structured activities that are carried out to move from a completed design to a fully operational system. These procedures include prerequisite activities, program development, quality assurance, data conversion, system testing, and post-implementation evaluation. The system implementation follows a structured series of procedures that are meant to ensure there is smooth transition and operational success. Before full system implementation, that is actual deployment, begins, several foundational or preparatory activities must be completed in order to ensure readiness and successful system deployment. The following are therefore the prerequisites that must be completed before system implementation. Number one is user training. It ensures that the staff and the students, for example, in an educational institution, can operate the system effectively. Number two is data conversion. It migrates existing records from legacy systems or paper to the new system, ensuring continuity and accuracy. Number three is hardware and software acquisition, which is generally procurement of the servers, the workstations, and specialized software. Number four is personnel recruitment, which entails hiring technical or operational staff that are required to manage and support the system. Number five is conducting user training in order to equip the staff, managers, and system users with the knowledge and the skills that are required to operate the new system. The complexity of the system and the existing user skills determine the depth of training that will be required. Number six is data conversion preparation, which has to involve planning how existing data will be migrated from the old formats, such as paper files, spreadsheets, or legacy databases into the new system. Number seven is hardware and software acquisition, which ensures that the devices required or the hardware required are procured. These include servers, computers, network devices, the operating systems, as well as application software. And one has also to ensure that they are not just procured, but they are also compatible with the system requirements. Number eight is personnel recruitment or assignment, which provides technical staff, system administrators, database administrators, and support personnel to manage implementation and early system operation. The following is the set of preparatory and operational activities or a procedure that is required to ensure successful system deployment. One is user training. This is followed by data conversion, then hardware and software acquisition, personnel recruitment, then we have the program deployment and the quality assurance. Let us now look at each of these activities so that we see what is supposed to be done at each of the steps or in each of the activities. We begin with user training. User training equips end users with the necessary knowledge and the skills that are needed to operate the system effectively. It minimizes resistance to change and enhances system adoption. The user training is a critical success factor in system implementation because no one can use a new system if he or she does not know how to use it, and if one does not have the confidence and the courage to use it because of fear to fail. It enhances user competence, reduces resistance to change, and improves system utilization. Training should be continuous and tailored to different user categories, for example, administrators, instructors, and students for an education institution. For example, in a Tibet institution implementing an online grading system, instructors must be trained on grade entry, report generation, and data validation. The following is therefore the procedure for offering user training. Number one, you conduct training needs analysis, that is, identify user groups and their training needs. Number two, develop curriculum, training materials, and manuals. Number three, conduct the training sessions, for example, workshops and simulations. That is, deliver training using multiple methods, such as workshops, simulations, e-learning, amongst others. Number four, evaluate user competence, that is, assess user competency through evaluations. Number five, provide continuous support and refresher training. The next activity is execute data conversion. Data conversion is a process of migrating data from the old system into the new system in a usable and accurate format that is compatible with the new system. It includes data extraction, transformation, validation, loading, and verification. It involves transferring data from the old system to the new system while ensuring accuracy and integrity. It ensures that the historical and operational data from the old system is accurately transferred to the new system. This is because poor data conversion can compromise system integrity and decision-making. It involves extracting data from manual files, spreadsheets, or old databases, then transforming the data into required formats, validating accuracy and completeness, loading data into the new database, conducting test runs, printing reports for comparison, verifying control totals, and inserting variable data such as account balances immediately before changeover. The data conversion may require external assistance for large volumes of data. The process is critical because a new system cannot operate correctly without reliable data. The following is therefore the procedure of performing data conversion. Number one, identify data to be migrated, its sources and types. Number two, clean and validate existing data. Number three, define data mapping and transformation rules by mapping all data formats to a new system structures. Number four, perform data migration. Then number five, verify data accuracy through reconciliation processes and completeness. The other activity is hardware and software acquisition. This involves procuring and configuring the technological infrastructure that is required to support the new system. It must align with the system specifications and scalability requirements. For example, implementing a cloud-based learning system may require servers, networking equipment, and licensed software. It is done as follows. One, define system technical requirements. Then, number two, evaluate the vendors and the procurement of options and the solutions available. Number three, procure the hardware and software that meets your expectations. Number four, install and configure components. Then test system compatibility and performance as number five. The other activity that needs to be undertaken is personnel recruitment. What does personnel recruitment entail? Here, qualified personnel are searched for, are selected, and are assigned their roles or responsibilities. And therefore, qualified personnel are required to manage, operate, maintain, and support the system. How do you recruit the personnel? Number one, you identify the required roles. That is, for example, system administrators, support staff, amongst others. Number two, you identify the staffing requirements. Number three, recruit or assign qualified personnel. Number four, provide orientation to those who have been selected, as well as technical training on how to use the system. Number 5, define the roles and responsibilities clearly. Number 6, assign the specific roles and responsibilities that each individual needs to undertake. The next activity is program development. Program development is the creation of software applications and modules based on system design specifications. It involves translating system modules into program logic and executable code. It entails coding, configuring, and integrating system components based on the design specifications. It requires adherence to system software engineering standards and best practices and ensures that the system functionalities align with user requirements. For example, developing a student portal requires back-end programming, database integration, and user interface design. It is done as follows. Number 1, translate system design in technical specifications or code. Number 2, develop the code, that is the modules and the components, using appropriate programming languages. Number 3, conduct unit and integration testing, that is, integrate modules into a unified system and see whether they are working together simultaneously and harmoniously. Number 4, document the code and the processes, that is, system functionalities. Number 5, review and optimize the performance of the new system. Therefore, the procedures for program development include translating system design into program specifications, writing code using selected programming languages, applying modular programming techniques, reviewing and debugging each module, and integrating the tested modules into a complete application. In a swap school, for example, where we have student registration system, the program modules may include student admission, course registration, payment processing, grading, and reporting. Example, the grade calculation module of a swap school system is coded separately, then tested independently, documented, and then integrated into the overall academic management platform. Program development involves final coding, integration, and configuration of software modules. Each module is verified against functional and non-functional requirements that have been specified during system design. The quality assurance ensures that programs work correctly individually and when integrated into the full system. So, what is quality assurance? Quality assurance ensures the system meets required standards, performance, security, and usability standards. It is a continuous process involving multiple testing strategies and ensuring that the system performs reliably. It ensures that the system meets both functional and non-functional requirements, including reliability, accuracy, security, performance, and usability. It involves the following. 1, developing test plans and test cases. Number 2, conducting code reviews. Number 3, performing unit testing, integration testing, system testing, usability testing. And number 4, documenting defects and corrective actions. For example, the payment module of a swap school registration system is tested to confirm that it calculates fees accurately, updates student financial records correctly, and generates valid receipts. Quality assurance activities include the following. 1, functional testing. This ensures system functions as intended. Number 2 is performance testing. This confirms speed, responsiveness, and stability of the system. Number 3 is security testing, which entails checking access controls, data protection, and resilience. Number 4 is user acceptance testing, or UAT, which ensures that the system meets the end user expectations. Therefore, quality assurance is done as follows. Number 1, Develop quality assurance plans and test the cases. That is, develop testing plans and the criteria. Number 2, conduct system testing, which includes functional, non-functional, performance, and security testing. Number 3 is to identify and resolve any defects or errors realized. Number 4, validate the system against user requirements. Number 5, approve system readiness for deployment. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 43 of this series. You can join me in part 44 of the series, in which we are going to learn about deployment procedures of the new system. Congratulations, therefore, for learning part 43 of 53, in which we have learned about system implementation procedures and the perform system implementation topic in System Analysis and Design course. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos, by clicking or tapping on Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 44 of the series, and God bless.